All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and our latest BCBA practice exam. This is our fifth practice exam, and we're going to the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. After several manipulations of the independent variable, Albert determines that he is impacting the dependent variable. What dimension of ABA is reflected in this scenario? When dealing with dimension questions, you really want to hone in on the specifics of the question because the 7 dimensions are really guiding lights for ABA. And so many of our scenarios might feature more than one dimension. So when you get a question, what are they really asking about? In this case, they're asking about this manipulation of the independent variable related to the dependent variable, meaning Albert, he's repeatedly manipulated the independent variable, which is typically our intervention, and he's impacting the dependent variable. What do we call that? Well, it looks like a functional relation to me. When our intervention or our independent variable starts controlling the dependent variable, we're demonstrating a functional relation. So what dimension of ABA reflects a functional relationship? A, technological. Well, technological says we should write things in a way that a trained observer could repeat what we're doing. We're not talking about repeating Albert's experiment as a second or third party. We're talking about Albert repeating his experiment over and over again. B, generality. We're not talking about the intervention. We don't even know what the intervention necessarily is or if it needs to generalize. Generalization just doesn't really come into play here. We're really talking about Albert's demonstration of a functional relationship. So in that case, Albert's demonstrating the analytic dimension of ABA. The analytic dimension of ABA says there's a functional relationship that exists through our, in this case, independent variable or intervention and the target behavior. And then D, conceptually systematic. Conceptually systematic says we adhere to behavioral terms, concepts, and principles. We don't know what Albert's doing. We don't know what the intervention is. We just know there's a functional relationship present. So in that case, the dimension that's clearly reflected is C, analytic. 132, Cliff is consulting with a preschool specifically on implementing Extinction effectively. One of the preschool teachers tells Cliff that she notices that when using Extinction, the behavior sometimes gets better initially, but then gets worse for a few days after. What should Cliff tell the teacher? Part of being a behavior analyst, a big part, is training and being the one in scenarios to be kind of the guiding light. In this case, we have Cliff consulting with a preschool and specifically on extinction. And extinction could be difficult because of the extinction burst. But because we can predict the extinction burst, we can prepare our staff and we can talk to them when things like this happen. Because this teacher says, well, I use extinction, the behavior sometimes gets better, but then it gets worse for a few days after. And that's totally normal with extinction. So what should Cliff tell this teacher as the consultant? A, if behavior gets worse, stop using extinction immediately. If we went by that logic, we would never use extinction because behavior almost always gets worse initially when extinction is used. We call that an extinction burst. B, continue implementing the extinction procedure. Yes, we need to persist as the extinction burst is taking place. And that can be the most difficult part about extinction, the extinction burst. But what Cliff needs to tell this teacher is, you're doing it right. There's good indication that you're implementing extinction correctly, and we expect the behavior to start to decrease eventually. C, add a punishment procedure if the behavior starts to get worse. And D, change the reinforcement schedule for the replacement behavior. When you get questions about specific interventions like extinction, be careful about just adding more interventions as a way to correct the intervention. The question is really asking about extinction specifically, and what does Cliff tell the preschool teacher in response to her questions about extinction? Adding punishment, adding reinforcement doesn't really address the teacher's concern. So be careful about just throwing in more interventions as the answer. Is there a better answer than that? In this case, yes. Cliff needs to say, well, just continue implementing the extinction procedure as you are. You seem to be doing a good job at it. 133, a mom is spoon feeding her baby peas and carrots. Each time the mom puts the spoon near the baby's mouth, the baby grabs the spoon. Mom now pushes the baby's hands down before the baby can grab the spoon. What does this most resemble? Okay, we're looking at a situation where a mom is spoon feeding her baby. The mom puts the spoon near the baby's mouth, and what does the baby do? The baby grabs the spoon. A response. So now the mom pushes the baby's hands down before the baby can grab the spoon. Now think about this in terms of, let's say, a kid who likes to flick on light switches. So he'll go to a light switch and turn it off and on, off and on, off and on. If I prevent that kid from grabbing the light switch and turning it off and on and off and on, am I really putting that behavior on extinction, or am I just blocking the response? I'm just blocking the response. And what we need to remember, response blocking is not extinction. Extinction is not response blocking. Response blocking prevents the response from occurring. And if we prevent the response from occurring, we can't put the response on extinction. The response must occur to be put on extinction. So in this case, preventing the baby from grabbing the spoon is blocking the response. It's not an antecedent intervention because it's reactive. It's in reaction to what the baby's doing. And it's not prompting because, again, it's a consequence intervention, and we're not prompting the baby to do anything. The baby goes to grab the spoon. The mom blocks the response by pushing the baby's hands down before the baby can grab the spoon. So what does this resemble? A, response blocking. Although a learner's motivation can be high, this does not necessarily mean a reinforcer is available. What needs to be present to tell the learner that the reinforcer is available? All right, think about this question. We have a learner whose motivation can be high. So immediately I think, well, sounds like an MO is present, some sort of establishing operation. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that reinforcer is available. So what needs to be present to let the learner know that the reinforcer is available? In other words, what signals to the learner that the reinforcement is available? What is the cue? What is telling them it's available? A, the MO. Well, the MO has to do with motivation. It's the motivating operation. It's going to be the establishing operation or abolishing operation, but it's not going to signal reinforcement is available. Just because motivation is present doesn't mean reinforcement is also present. We need an SD to signal or tell us that reinforcement is available. Remember, a discriminative stimulus signals reinforcement is available. See the prompt? Well, the prompt follows the SD, right? So what we need is an SD. What needs to be present to tell the learner that the reinforcer is available is an SD. It's a cue or signal that a consequence is available. 135, two children are told to make their beds in the morning while their mom prepares them breakfast. The mom keeps track of who makes their bed and who doesn't, and then rewards them at the end of the week based on the data she collected. What is the most parsimonious explanation for how the mom can collect data on bed making while preparing breakfast? Now, if we rewrote this, what is the most simple explanation for how the mom can collect data on bed making while preparing breakfast? This question probably becomes a lot easier because the question isn't necessarily tricky. It's really testing your knowledge of this word, parsimonious. And parsimony means using the simplest explanation first. So in other words, what's the most simple explanation for how the mom is able to collect data on bed making while also preparing breakfast? So two children make their bed in the morning. Mom keeps track, rewards them. How does she do it? A, the mom is using cameras to watch the children make the bed. Now remember, we're looking for the parsimonious explanation. What's the most simple explanation? Is there a more simple explanation than cameras? B, the mom is observing the children in between preparing breakfast. Again, is she going back and forth? Maybe. Is there something simpler? C, the mom is measuring the product of the bed making behavior. Yeah, that's the most simplest explanation. She's using a permanent product procedure. That's more simple than, oh, she's using cameras to watch the children, or, oh, she's running back and forth. Why not just use permanent product? Permanent product just simply measures the product or the outcome of the behavior. And then D, mom is not taking accurate data on bed making. There's nothing really telling us the mom is wrong or bad at data collection. We're just asking, how does she do it? And if we're going with the parsimonious explanation, the simplest explanation, well, she's most likely using permanent product. She's measuring the product of the bed making behavior. 136, you're enjoying yourself on a well-earned vacation when your phone rings. Your caller ID shows that it is one of your technicians. You pick up the phone and your technician sounds panicked. It tells you the client is engaging in property destruction that they have not seen before. What is the first thing you should tell your technician? Part of being a behavior analyst, right? Training, working through situations like this. Now, you're on vacation, you decide to pick up, your technician's panicked, okay? There's a situation going on where there's property destruction they've not seen before. What's the first thing you're going to tell your technician? What is the very first thing you would tell your technician in a situation where property destruction is occurring? Never seen it before. A, attempt to identify the function. Now, the function is going to be important for handling and treating this behavior. What is that the first thing you're going to say when they call panicked about property destruction? B, attempt to identify the topography. Well, the topography is second even to the function. So hopefully that's not the first thing you say. C, record ABC data. Again, ABC data is going to be important. Function is going to be important down the road when we want to treat this behavior. In the moment or anything else, what's the most important thing? We do no harm. That's the number one rule. In the moment, the most important thing is keeping that client safe. We've got to keep that client safe, and we've got to keep the technician safe. So above all else, brand new, very dangerous behavior. First things first, keep the client safe. 137, every night before you get ready for bed, you make yourself some tea in your tea kettle. The tea helps take away your stress at the end of the day, and you've been doing this for months. Consequence of taking away your stress is what? All right, so we've got a reinforcement, punishment, consequence question. The consequence of taking away the stress. So first things first, is this behavior increasing or decreasing? Well, you've been doing it for months, so it's increasing at worst, maintaining, meaning it's reinforcement. Okay, so we know it's reinforcement. So let's ask ourselves, is something being taken away or something being added? Well, you're getting ready for bed as the antecedent. You make yourself some tea is the behavior. The tea takes away your stress. That's the consequence. Something's being removed, negative. And then we have socially mediated or automatic. Socially mediated means there's another person involved. Automatic essentially means alone by yourself, nobody else is involved. In this scenario, who are the players, basically? The only player is you. So ask yourself, how many players are there? If there's one player, it's automatic. If there's more than one, it's socially mediated. So we've got one player, automatic. We're taking away something negative, and we're increasing or maintaining the behavior. We're reinforcing. So the consequence of taking away your stress is automatic negative reinforcement. 138, an occupational therapist takes the behavior analyst exam, passes, and is now board certified. She wants to design an occupational therapy program which utilizes behavioral strategies for work with elderly patients. What must she be sure of in regards to the program if she wants to market it as part of an ABA package? Now, another dimension question. Remember, what are we specifically looking for? Okay, and then you've got to ask yourself that for dimension questions. In this case, they're really asking about marketing it as part of an ABA package. So she's going to represent herself as this behavior analyst who's got this behavior analytic package. What's most important there? A, it is technological. Technological is going to be important if she needs other people to start implementing this thing. We're not really worried about that. We're worried about her representing it as part of an ABA package. So B, it is conceptually systematic. That's what we're looking for. If we're going to brand it as an ABA package and market it that way, then it has to be conceptually systematic and needs to be consistent with behavior principles, behavior concepts. C, it is analytic. Again, in practice, when she's actually implementing it, hopefully there's a functional relationship and hopefully it is analytic. We're talking about representing it as an ABA package. It needs to be conceptually systematic. And then D, it is generalizable. Again, A, C, and D are all related to in practice, using these things. We're talking about representing herself, representing the package or part of it as an ABA package. So she wants to market it. She wants to say it's ABA. First things first, it needs to be conceptually systematic. A momentary time sampling measurement system is in place for your 9-year-old client. The interval is set at 15 seconds, and you need 4 data points. The behavior occurs for 12 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and 14 seconds. Technician A records 3 responses, and Technician B records 1 response. Who is correct? All right, we've got Technician A says 3 responses. Technician B, 1 response. How do they measure? They measured using momentary time sampling. And what does momentary time sampling say? It says we're looking for, is a response occurring at the end of an interval? So our intervals are set at 15 seconds. We need 4 data points. So 4 times we need to look at 15 seconds. Did the behavior occur? Did it not? Well, we know the behavior occurred 12 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and 14 seconds. Does that tell us anything about the responses? Well, think about it. If the behavior occurred for the first 12 seconds, that's not a response in momentary time sampling. If the behavior occurred for the last 12 seconds, it would have occurred at the end, or the end of the interval. That would be a response. We don't know when the behavior occurred. We just know for how long. So does that help us with momentary time sampling? It does not. So Technician A says 3 responses. Technician B says 1 response. Who is correct? Well, we have no idea. We need to know when that behavior occurred. Specifically, did it occur at the end of the interval? If it did, it's a response. If it didn't, who's to say? So given the information, who is correct? We cannot determine. And then 140, which of the following is untrue about private events according to radical behaviorism? Untrue, meaning 3 of these will be true. We're talking private events. We're talking radical behaviorism. Radical behaviorism coined by B.F. Skinner. John Watson had methodological behaviorism, which came before. Skinner says methodological behaviorism acknowledged private events, but did not factor them into the analysis of behavior. With radical behaviorism, we did. Started to acknowledge them as actual behavior. So, which of the following is untrue about those? A, thoughts and feelings are behavior. Private events are thoughts and feelings. Are thoughts and feelings behavior? Yes. B, private events are only different from public events due to inaccessible nature of private events. Also true. If we could observe private events like we observe public events, there would be no difference. C, private events should not be taken into account in analysis of behavior. That is untrue. Now, in practice, we a lot of times do not because of the unobservable nature, but they absolutely need to be considered because they are behavior. And then D, private events are affected by the same variables that impact public events. Private events, public events, they're all just behavior. The main difference is, can we observe them? Can we not? So what is untrue? Well, private events should not be taken into account in analysis of behavior. That is not true. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know when you pass. Work hard, study hard. I'll see you soon.